Hi guys, thanks for tuning in to another video on ForgottenWeapons.com. I'm Ian. I am here today at the Rock Island Auction House. I'm taking a look at some of the guns that are coming up for sale in their December of 2015 premiere auction. And I noticed that they had serial number 1 of the Colt Z40. Now, the Z40 is by no means an old weapon. This is actually a very modern weapon. This thing was manufactured just in 1998. And in fact, actually, they have serial number 1 and serial number 2. Although I only brought number 1 out here to take a look at today. Now, the reason I brought this out, despite the fact that, normally I'd try to take a look at older guns or mechanically unusual guns, well, this one is kind of politically and historically interesting, I think. So let's go back and talk about exactly what had been going on with Colt in the run-up to the Z40. Colt has always had some issues with bankruptcy. Of course, famously, Colt's very first revolver, the Patterson, failed to sell very well and basically led the company into bankruptcy right off the bat. It was only saved by the Walker, which we're going to take a look at in another couple of days. So in the 1990s, Colt was having a really hard time. This problem came in part from a lack of development of new product ideas. Colt had been kind of subsisting on the 1911 forever and ever and ever, along with military contracts for rifles, and well, they lost their rifle contract to FN. They didn't have a whole lot of modern pistols in development, in the works, and so in the late 1980s, Colt started to try and develop some new products to keep the business afloat. And the first one they came up with was the Series 80 Double Eagle, which was intended to be kind of a modern service pistol, a double stack DASA, double action and single action automatic pistol. The problem was the Double Eagle kind of sucked a lot. The Series 80 version of it had some significant problems. It tended to break a lot. It was easy to lose parts when you took it apart. Wasn't a very good design. That came out in like 1989, 1990. They did fix some of those problems, and they came out with a Series 90 Double Eagle, but by then it was kind of too late, and the horrible reputation from the first version took over, and that was it. The guns were actually in production into the late 1990s, but they never sold very well. So that didn't work out. Colt came back and they tried a second project. The next one they came up with was the All-American 2000, which was supposed to be a revolutionary, fantastic, just mind-blowingly awesome pistol. And it also sucked very badly. In this case, they took a design that was actually put together by Reed Knight and Eugene Stoner. So there's some pretty good foundations there, but then they lawyered the gun up. The original design had been basically a compact carry pistol, and they redesigned it as a service pistol. So they made the frame bigger, they made the barrel longer, and then they started doing some things to make it, to take it from a prototype into a mass-producible gun, and their tolerances and their quality control were lacking. They added a very long, very heavy trigger, probably for liability reasons, and the trigger is just abominable. And it was actually, it should be a very embarrassing pistol, both to Colt and to a lot of the gun industry, because this pistol got whitewashed reviews. It was front page, cover story review in a lot of gun publications, and it turned out to be a terrible gun. Malfunctions, just not a good pistol at all. If you're interested, I actually have a full video on one of them. At any rate, that makes 2 failures in a row for Colt, and they were, you can only build so many unsuccessful pistols in a row before you're really in financial trouble as a company. So by the late 1990s, now they're still trying to find some new pistol to come out with to support the company. They don't really want to put a lot of money into it. They don't have a lot of money to try and finance another failed project. In fact, in 94, 95, their plant shuts down. They actually do go through a bankruptcy. When they come out of it, what they do is approach CZ in the Czech Republic. CZ it's a historically very relevant gun company. They have a long history of doing really cool stuff, but they're not really that well known in the United States. And they're on the cusp of becoming a major known handgun brand. So Colt approaches them and basically says, we want a new gun that we can sell, and we'd like to have you guys design and build it, and then we'll just import it and sell it under license. And we want this gun to be double action. double action only, but we want it to look like a 1911, and we want it in .40 Smith & Wesson. So remember, in 1994, the assault weapons ban was passed in the US, which prohibited new magazines that could hold more than 10 cartridges. So if you're building a service pistol, there's no point in making a 9mm service pistol that could typically, where your magazine is big enough to hold, say, 15 or 17 rounds, but then arbitrarily limiting it to 10. If you're stuck with 10, you might as well make those 10 cartridges as big as possible, and that's why the .40 Smith & Wesson cartridge was chosen. This guy, in a full-size magazine, holds 10 rounds. It's a nice balance when you've got that artificial restriction on the design. So CZ came back and said, all right, cool. They took this pistol, they gave it basically a grip angle and grip style of a 1911, and then the lockwork and the slide assembly is straight off a CZ75, which is a fantastic handgun, basically a copy and or upgrade of the Browning High Power. So that became the Colt CZ40, or the Colt Z40. So this kind of clever amalgamation of the names, CZ40 / Colt Z40. You see where they're going with that. Now what's interesting about this pistol is CZ made 800 of them, give or take. They came into the US. They're actually really a quite good gun. The triggers are very nice. There's nothing mechanically wrong with the pistol. The CZ75 lineage is excellent. The 1911 grip angle was popular with people. That's, long been a successful design. And then in 1998, 99, after about 800 of these guns are in, Colt dumped the deal and just walked away. So the question is, why would Colt actually do that? What did they have to lose? They weren't paying to build the pistol. They really had no money involved in this. All they did was buy the guns from CZ and then resell them in the US. So why would they walk away? Well, it turns out this is an instance of Colt politically kind of shooting themselves in the foot. Around this time, the very late 1990s, there was a lot of discussion of so-called smart guns. The idea of having a handgun with some built-in electronics that could understand or could recognize who was trying to shoot it and only work if an authorized person were trying to use the gun. So there were a couple of different ways that this technology was approached. Fingerprint readers on pistol grips was one. Colt's idea was actually to have basically like an RFID chip in a ring, and that ring would have to be in a certain very close proximity to the grip of the gun in order to allow it to fire. And the idea was the authorized user would wear this ring and then only they could shoot the gun. And it sounds cool and high-tech, and the American gun buying public absolutely freaked out. For a couple reasons. Obviously, there were a lot of concerns that this would allow the government to restrict who could shoot guns, that you could buy a gun and it would work, and then one day the government could like flip some switch and all of a sudden your gun wouldn't work, and that freaked people out. There are some legitimate concerns about the guns not functioning. What if some bit of this electronics breaks when I need the gun and it doesn't work? Well, okay. And Colt's corporate interest in pursuing this technology. Oh, I should say there were also, and I believe there still are to this day, there are laws in at least a couple of states that once a functional smart gun comes on the market, it becomes illegal to sell non-smart guns in those states. I believe New Jersey has a law like that, although I haven't looked it up prior to doing this video, so I could be wrong there. At any rate, for a bunch of different reasons, the public freaked out over smart gun technology. And this Colt basically, you could say they shot themselves in the foot. They just about shot themselves in the face with this push. And when they had demonstrated their smart gun, it was based on a Z40. Now that had nothing to do with the actual production Z40s. These are just totally normal mechanical guns. But in doing their press release work, Colt took one of these and then they modified it and retrofitted it with this smart gun electronics technology, and that's what got published. And when they saw the public reaction, when they realized, okay, this is never going to fly in the market, they dumped out the baby with the bathwater. They threw away all of their interest in the Z40 because of its association. The gun was tainted by this smart gun project publicity technology. And that's the explanation for why Colt took what was otherwise really a very nice pistol and just abandoned it completely. So I'm sure it would have been interesting to be in CZ's offices when they found out that Colt was walking away from this project. You know, it's, what the hell? Why? What's wrong with our pistol? Well, the answer is nothing's wrong with the pistol. They were great. In fact, they were good enough that once Colt backed out of the project, CZ went back to the design. They made a few tweaks. Specifically, they changed it from a double-action only gun to a double-action, single-action lockwork, like the CZ75. And they proceeded to put it back on the market as the CZ40. So the CZ40 is mechanically, for all practical purposes, identical to one of these guys, just with a single action feature. All right, we'll start with this cool Colt Z40 logo. They've got the stylized Z, the big CZ, but also the word Colt. And it's kind of a neat little logo there. And serial number there, all matching, A0001. And you'll see we actually have a check proof mark up here dating the gun to 1998 because it's made in the Czech Republic. Now, one of the interesting things you will notice on this gun if you look closely is that in addition to a couple of pinholes, which are normal for the mechanics, it also has these two divots. They're not pins, they're just round divots drilled into the frame. And we also have these two notches marked on the frame and slide here. What these do, take that out first, these are for disassembly. All right, so to disassemble the pistol, we want to pull the slide stop out. What we do first is actually line up those two divots. That allows us to start the pin. Then you bring the slide back and line up these two notches in the back of the slide and frame, right about there. That allows the pin to come the rest of the way out. Then we can pull the slide assembly off the frame, and you can see in here that this is basically high power. So got our recoil spring. This is not a captive recoil spring. Barrel. That's pretty much it. Mechanically, this goes together like pretty much all of our modern service pistols. So, thanks for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed the video. This is certainly not our typical sort of unique old pistol, but I think it fits the paradigm equally well as a new gun that has this weird political story behind it. So if you would like to have this one, and I will remind you that this is in fact serial number A0001, the very first one of them, you can check the link in the description text below. That'll take you to the Rock Island Auction House's catalog page on this pistol. You can see their pictures, their description, and place a bid on it if you'd like to own it yourself. And I would also point out that they do also have serial number 2 in this same auction. So check out the catalog. You can do a little searching in their search feature and find number 2 if you'd like to check out that one as well. Thanks for watching.